So this is the first video for my YouTube channel, MMA Addict 131. So I've chose this username based on the last few years of my life being in recovery, changing that addiction, I suppose, to following the UFC around the world. Last year, UFC 303 in Vegas, International Fight Week, 304 in Manchester, 308 in Abu Dhabi. Following my passion and meeting some of the stars that we watch every Saturday night. So that's just a quick reason why the YouTube channel is MMA Addict 131, and also my Twitter is MMA Addict 131X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. So basically, just UFC 311, first numbered event of the year after the fight night card last weekend with Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas, but the first real card of the year, numbered card. So I'm just on Tapology, looking through the fights and doing some picks. So I'm going to start with the featured prelim, which is Peyton Talbot against Renat. Just as I go to pronounce his name, my computer's decided to play silly buggers. Barcelos. So I watched Peyton Talbot fight in Vegas, where he got a pretty quick knockout win last year, and a not as easy fight for him this time. I think all things in that division seem to go through Barcelos, so I'm going to choose Peyton Talbot by a knockout later on in the fight, so in round number 3. I think this one could go a bit deeper, which is probably something Peyton Talbot needs, a bit more exposure and a bit more time in the octagon. So I'm going Talbot, KO, round 3. Next fight is on the main card, Kevin Holland against Reinier de Ridder. Reinier de Ridder, don't really know much about. Obviously, 2 belts in one championship, moved over and fought Gerald Meerschaert in his first fight, won by submission. Kevin Holland, he's a black belt as well. Obviously, de Ridder's the world champion in jiu-jitsu. It's a tough fight to pick. With not knowing too much about de Ridder, just know that Kevin Holland had a disappointing last fight where he pulled out with a rib injury. So I think Kevin will be wanting to put on a big performance there and try and get back on the UFC's radar this year. He had a 5-0 year in, I think it was 2020, where he went on just steam trained everyone. But this time I'm going to take Kevin Holland. I think it's going to go the distance. No, I don't. I think he's going to knock him out. I don't think Reinier de Ridder's the best stand-up. I think if it goes to the ground, it would be maybe like 60-40, 70-30, maybe even to de Ridder. But I think in the stand-up, Kevin Holland takes it in round number 2. So we win Kevin Holland, TKO, round number 2. Next fight, really looking forward to this one. It's quite 2 fighters going sort of different ways in their career, even though they've both been in the UFC for a long time. Despite all the things over social media, there's actually only 15 days between their birthdays. Moicano's been saying he's going to beat the shit out of the old man. Dariush is on a 2-fight losing streak, quite decisive losses as well, and Moicano is, since the birth of his child, and I think that's changed him a couple of years ago, his first child, and he's got another child on the way. I think he knows he's 35, and this fight, then another big fight maybe the back end of the year we could be talking about Moicano in the title picture. My opinion on this fight is there's a rumoured fight between Paddy, the Paddy Pimbler, and Michael Chandler. So my opinion is that the winner of this, if it was Moicano, and the winner of that fight with Paddy the Baddy and Michael Chandler would potentially set up a winner takes maybe number one contender shot, or even winner of say between Paddy and Hanato. If they both won the next fights, have we got coaches for the Ultimate Fighter yet? Maybe that could be something that we look to do in there. The UFC look to do. So I'm taking on this fight Moicano. Dariush is good everywhere. Dariush, he's pretty durable. He's good at jiu-jitsu. He's a nice guy. I watched him get inducted into the Hall of Fame last year in Vegas for his charity work and community work. I'm going Moicano by sub. He's going to take him into the deep waters like he did with Benoit Saint-Denis in his last fight. And he's going to sub him in round 2. So I'm putting that one in for that one. So that's Moicano submission, round number 2. Next fight, Yuri Prochazka versus Jamal Hill. Now, both fighters go in there to finish fights. I think Prochazka's record, he's had 36 fights and he's only been to the judges twice. I don't think I know, because Adam Capsule's just told me that on the Fight Disciples podcast that I was listening to before doing this podcast. So I just think Yuri, obviously, he's been in with Alex Pereira twice. His last fight, to me, his hands were too low. He went against the best striker in the world and tried to fight him in totally the wrong style. And then Jamal Hill, obviously, against Pereira, there was that low kick. Pereira made a little shuffle inside and then caught him with the left hand of death. But I really can't pick this fight. It's not going the distance, so we can definitely put TKO knockout in there. Seen Jamal Hill's got in the gym with Pereira. He obviously wants to get that fight back. He feel like he was done wrongly. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. So I'm going to say that it's going late. I think if it stays orthodox sort of boxing style, Jamal Hill will have the advantage, but Yuri's just so unpredictable with all his spinning strikes. We seen it in his first fight where he come in with a mad elbow. I think it was against Volkanov's Demir, and took that fight there. Really don't know which way to go with this one. I'm taking Jiri just for his unpredictability. And then co-main event. So amazingly, it's mad how much of a underdog Merab is in this fight. I mean, he's just beat 4 champions in a row. He's coming in against Umar Nurmagomedov, and I just think Merab's been looking for an angle with his sort of reactiveness in press conferences. There was a question asked by a mate of mine in Abu Dhabi. Nyan asked him a question, and he took the bait basically and was very reactive. I just think he's looking for some needle that really I don't think's there from Umar. I think his last fight is quite a short turnaround. I think Umar has always, he's trained in Dagestan for all his life with Khabib and the Eagle guys over there in Dagestan, and he will have had constant pressure. maybe not Merab's pressure, where he's just literally shooting for takedowns, throwing punches to miss, but gaining the range where he can shoot in for those takedowns. I think this is going to be a really, really tight fight. One for the proper MMA fans that aren't there just tuning in for a knockout. There might be a knockout, but I think it's going to go the distance. Everyone knows what Merab's gas tank's like. He's just pedal to the metal from the start. But I'm just swaying for Umar by decision on this one. So I'm going to go Umar by decision just because he mixes it up a lot with his strikes. I think when the fight's on the feet, Umar will score more points. If the fight goes to the ground, I think Umar's comfortable. He would have been training with Islam for this fight. Khabib's obviously there in the corner. I think he's just going to be more comfortable than someone like Sean O'Malley when the fight goes to the ground. I think he will know how to get back up and he'll be comfortable in that bottom position. And then we've got the main event, Makhachev versus Tsarukyan 2. Again, like the co-main event, two phenomenal fighters. I think it was Tsarukyan's first fight in the UFC, so he would have been coming in maybe with a bit of nervous energy that it was that first fight. And it was obviously, I think he was called in as a short notice replacement there in that fight. So this time he's had more time to prepare. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. So again, he's gone away. He's gained more experience. And he's been fighting top guys over them 4 years. But so was Islam. And you look at Islam's Volk second fight, the rematch there, where it was very decisive, like that head kick knockout was... Obviously, he studied and knew what to do. He was more prepared that time. So I think Arman looks in terrific shape from some pictures and videos I've seen of him sparring online and training over there in America. I just think if Makhachev is on his game, he showed against Poirier that he's got hands. His boxing's a lot better than people give him credit for. I think on the stand-up, Islam takes it. If it goes to the ground, I think Islam... I think he takes it there too. You look at that takedown and choke of Dustin Poirier. It was unpredictable. Just grabbed the ankle on the way out and swooped in for the choke. So I'm going to go for a Makhachev decision win there. So that's the UFC 311 quick picks for this weekend. That's my first little picks for the UFC. I'll be doing a lot more of these in the future. Let's hope it's some good fights. I'll be watching through the night, as us British fans get to do every time there's a number event. So I'll be staying up through the night to watch 311. Hope it's a good card. Hope everyone's safe over in California where the fires are raging on still. Have a good weekend.